if Lewis is still performing at the level he's performed at this season and last season, next year, we're probably looking at the end of Lewis Hamilton's career very soon.
Christian!
Well, it's not a controversial thing to say. You can't
No,
look
I
shocked.
know, but we don't need to say it. Don't say the thing.
Yeah, you don't need to put it in the universe.
Oh,
sorry, it's now the point where we do have to put it into the universe that he wasn't up to scratch last year. He's, that's not a Lewis Hamilton mistake that he made in Zandvoort. He's not up to speed of Charles. He's supposed to be the greatest ever. He is the greatest ever. That legacy's safe. I adore the man. But if Lewis is on the form of last year...
Don't do the bat. We've heard the bat. We've heard the bat.
I'm showing you the bat.
We've heard the bat.
If Lewis is on his form of last year, this year, next year, we're in trouble, gang.
Hello and welcome back to The Fast and the Curious. I'm Betty Glover. This is the Formula One podcast that speaks to the biggest names.
Sorry, Greg.
Yeah.
And I know it's been a little while, but you're not Betty. No.
Oh, sorry, I was just reading the script.
Sure.
Oh,
no. She normally does the top bit. You see.
Sorry,
normally...
right.
Yeah, sure. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Hello and welcome back to The Fast and the Curious. This is Christian Hugill, and it's the Formula One podcast.
It's teething problems. I think it's
right.
Once you're settled into the seat, I think we'll get through them.
Sorry,
what?
It's Greg James. I forgot. Yeah,
I've
been away so long. I've forgotten who I am. Okay,
and you get up early.
Hello and welcome to The Fast and the Curious. I'm Greg James, and it's lovely to be back. I've been away for the summer, really, from this podcast, and I've just turned into a fan of it. So it's actually very exciting to be back on with two of my favourite podcasters, Christian Hugill and Betty Glover. The season is back. We've had the Dutch Grand Prix, great debrief from you and Alex Brundle the other day, Betty. It's lovely to see you both. I've missed you greatly. I've missed our listeners greatly. And I'd missed Formula One so much. I hadn't realised because I was, in the summer I get obsessed with cricket and I'm always doing crickety things and festival-y things and mad Radio 1 stunts. And for our international viewers and listeners, they won't care about that. But it's lovely to be back. I'll offer my unique perspective on this ridiculous sport. I've got loads of questions for you, Christian and Betty. But did you miss it as well, Christian? Because you weren't on the last episode, but were you excited that it was back? It felt like it was away for a long time and actually a decent race.
Yeah, I was very excited for it to be back. And it was a great race. The race also made me sad when I caught up with it because I was on a plane when the race happened, flying back from Scotland. And Betty, you and Alex did a...
Sorry. Can we just say that you were on a plane flying back from Scotland with a big fat engagement necklace on because he's engaged?
We mentioned yours the other week, didn't we? And I thought I fancy a bit of that.
Well, congratulations to you, Betty, and Alex, and you, Christian, and David. It's such lovely news. Both of you are about to have the most magical experiences. It's very, very cool.
And we shouldn't leave you out, Greg. Congratulations to you and Bella for still being married. And,
yes.
Divorces are common nowadays, but you've bucked that trend. So congratulations to you.
Just under half of all marriages end in divorce.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
But look,
God,
that's
depressing, isn't it?
Statistically speaking, Betty, one of us probably won't make the distance.
Yeah, at least. 1.5.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there's a good chance.
So anyway, at Fast Curious Pod, which one of the three of us will end up divorced most quickly?
Okay,
Fast Curious Pod.
Let's leave that, shall we? But it's wonderful news for both of you. So the good news for you last weekend, not so great for Lando. The thing, look, we don't have to debrief too much because you've done the debrief, but I just conflicted is how I felt about that because love Lando Norris to death. Big fan of Oscar Piastri, big fan of McLaren. Just, I wanted, like so many people, I want that to be a close battle. And by the way, I think it still can be. But let's just talk about that later. The thing I loved about it, and there was something I loved, was how it was. It was so lame how it happened. Just your car breaking down is just... modern cars just don't tend to break down like that much these days, and particularly Formula One cars, they just don't stop in the most sort of lame, just sort of splutter. It was a splutter, like a little drip of oil. It was like my mum's old Nissan Sunny, just like grinding to a halt on the side of the M25 when we were going to Blue Water for the day. It was rubbish. It was, in cricket terms, it was village, and it was really naff, and I felt so sad for everyone involved. No one's fault in particular. Just, I was going to say these things happen, but they very rarely happen. But it did. It was sort of comedy, that really, but
Greg,
horrible.
isn't it just like, isn't it everybody's worst nightmare though? Just driving and then being like, is that smoke coming out of my car? I think smoke, like, for God's sake. It's F1.
Particularly when there's a lot riding on the journey, and in this case with Lando, you know, the ultimate destination being the checkered flag, and what the points make prizes, an important journey. You know, it's a breakdown he didn't want.
Why did it make you sad, Christian?
It made me sad because everybody kept asking me, Betty, you tell you what a lovely thing you said in the debrief was when you go into a coffee shop, right? And you said that there's a girl who serves you that you talk to about F1. I think all three of us have that with this podcast. Greg, you get it at Radio 1, don't you? People talk to you about F1. Mm-hmm. I get it everywhere I go. And people go to me sort of going like, is it going to be exciting? And I say to people, yes, yeah, it is. It definitely is going to be exciting. I think it's going to go down to the wire. And I think what's sad is that we've now got a 30-something gap as opposed to a 7 or 8 point gap. And that's sad. But as Greg said, it ain't over. And I do think we need to remember that. It isn't over. It's sad because it's just sad for Lando, and it's just sad for us as a sport that I don't think any of us thought it was going to come down to an engine failure, because it felt very, Greg, you said it felt very village. To me, it felt very 90s. It's the sort of thing that used to happen in the 90s in F1 all the time. Like, I remember a Mika Hakkinen, Michael Schumacher battle where Mika Hakkinen's engine went. And that was off of 1999. So we're in the most reliable era of F1 history. Rarely do cars break down. Typically, if you're going to retire from a modern day F1 race, statistically speaking, you're most likely to be punted off by Kimi Antonelli. But very rarely do you break down.
Or Liam Lawson.
Sorry, on that. Why are we all getting cross about that? Carlos wasn't suitably around the outside. That was a penalty.
Oh, I know.
Guys.
That's what Alex.
Yeah, it was a penalty.
Said,
anyway, moving on.
But I feel like I'm sorry, but I feel like it is over.
Oh, come on.
No. Don't get me wrong. This isn't me saying that Lando can't close that gap, because we've seen people close that gap. It's possible. But Oscar is so reliable. He's so good. I can't see him making a mistake. I can't see anyone catching him.
It's a very good point you make, and the logical, sensible heads will agree with you. However, this is not a logical or sensible sport in any way.
Or podcast.
And this sport moves so quickly. I know the world moves incredibly quickly, and we move on, the news cycle and all the rest of it is very quick. But this sport is a joke. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about Christian Horner, who's now just not around. It's just like the soap opera. He's been written out. See ya. He's a complete ghost. And you turn on that coverage on Sunday afternoon, and you're like, oh, yeah, who's that? I've forgotten about him. Bye. And things move very quickly. Isaac Hadjar gets his first podium. He's come from nowhere. He didn't really exist before this season started. There's so many. Cadillac are now a thing. Valtteri Bottas is driving Cadillac. Oh, Checo Perez is driving Cadillac now. What's Cadillac? What are you talking about? Oh, Cadillac are in? I thought Cadillac were like old cars from the 70s. What? This sport is ridiculous and changes so quickly. You just don't know what's around the corner. Quite literally, there are loads of them.
Oh, and lovely. Especially at Zandvoort, of course.
F1, you don't know what's around the corner, literally.
I've seen worse F1 slogans. I really have.
Let's just take a step back and go. Actually, there are 10 races. 10 races with 20 mad drivers just going around as fast as they can, different conditions, different circuits, different things happening in their own brains. There are so many variables. Yes, the cars are, some are good and some aren't so good, but actually there's a lot that can go wrong and therefore right for various drivers, and it's not a foregone conclusion that Oscar takes this, I don't think.
With that in mind then, do you think that this changes anything for Oscar, Christian, in the way that he approaches his races now? Because he can now finish second, and that's not going to have a big impact on him and his lead.
I think Oscar, to me, it actually changes nothing for Oscar, and I shall tell you for why. I think Oscar has been so remarkable this season, so consistent, so fast, so calm under pressure. He's barely put a foot wrong. He's barely had a bad weekend. There's been the odd weekend like Monaco where he didn't look quite at the races. There's been the odd locked break under battle. But aside from that, he's been nigh on perfection. The risk, I think, if you're Oscar Piastri, I don't think he changes anything because he's demonstrated he doesn't need to change anything because he's not making silly mistakes. He's not taking out his teammate. So he can carry on with the intensity he's been performing at before, because you run the risk, to use the soccer analogy, you run the risk of playing for the draw. You run the risk of playing, of taking your foot off the gas. You always see, Betty, when we watch football and a team's going into a Champions League match and they're 2-0 up from the first leg, people say it's very dangerous to go in and think, I don't need to do as much. I think there's a risk of that with Oscar. Oscar, I don't think, will do anything differently. Maybe, just maybe, there might be the odd little moment where he thinks, actually, if I'm running third, do I need to make this move for second if Lando's winning? Maybe not. But this is not how racing drivers are hardwired in the heat of battle. And actually, I don't think it changes much for Lando in his approach either. I've heard quite a lot of chat about, well, it's all or nothing for Lando now. Well, it always has been, because he's been trailing Oscar for quite a while. And Oscar's been showing no chinks in his armament. So I don't think it changes much for either of them's approach, because also they've also got to think of next season. If Lando starts to behave like a total maverick and thinks, sod it, I'm going in, forget it, forget papaya rules, you can stick your papayas where the sun don't shine, I'm going to punt him off the road. Well, he's got next season's title to think about, because he's got, there's no guarantee that if he burnt all his bridges with McLaren, he'd find another seat to get into. So no, Betty, to answer your question, I actually don't think it changes anything for either of their approach.
Do you think it changes the levels of excitement for the rest of the season? Am I on my own in still holding out hope for a close finish?
No, you're not at all. Greg, I actually totally agree with you, because, again, if you've not listened to the debrief with Alex, if you've missed that, it's worth going back to, because Alex made the lovely little point of like, well, you could get an oil leak. You could not have enough fuel to give a sample of. All of these things that could happen. You could have a bad lap in qualifying one, and all of a sudden you're starting at the back. You could misjudge a damp qualifying session, and all of a sudden you're starting at the back. I made the joke about Kimi, and for goodness sake, before I get hung, drawn and quartered, that was a joke. But, Kimi has hit people. Some other drivers will hit people. You can get punted off through no fault of your own. That could happen to Oscar. You run a wheel wide. The thing is about this sport is so many variables. And Greg, to your point, if actually something else happens to Oscar now, what are we saying is, we all thought it was over when Lando had his engine failure. Well, actually, all of a sudden, he's back in it, and that makes it even more exciting. Greg, you're right. 10 races is a lot. Have we got 10 left? Is that right? Yeah, so Italy is around 16 of a 24-race season. That's quite a few races, right? So many different things could happen. And we have seen engine failures. Haas have had a couple of engine failures. Mercedes have had a couple of engine failures. As we get further towards the end of the season, reliability goes. It was enjoyably village, as Greg said. It might happen again. Who knows?
And also, how will Oscar react? I think we could maybe predict, but you don't know. How will he act if he is so far out in front with, say, 4 races to go, whatever? He's great at finishing races, but is he great at winning championships? He's won lots of races, but he's never won a championship. He doesn't know how to do that yet. He hasn't done that first one yet. So
he'll be fine.
I think Betty's right. I've been lucky enough to interview loads of F1 world champions, really lucky. And I've said this in the past, that you see the difference. you see the difference in the intensity when you're talking to Lewis or Max. The way they're analysing what you're saying. You just see the difference between the good and the great in their body language, their character, the way they compose themselves in the paddock, the way they let the Formula One world wash by them, completely not bothered at all by the things that are toing and throwing past them. They are focused on their one mission, and that is to win the championship. Oscar has that. I think Oscar Lando's car could break down on every single weekend for the rest of the season, Oscar still being Oscar. I think a rhinoceros could break free from the local zoo and run in front of Oscar and take him out. And Oscar's still going on the team radio and going, that's a shame, isn't it? I wouldn't have expected that. It's a sort of rhino if that was actually down. Nothing's going to change his calmness, his mentality. Nothing changed Oscar. He has been sensational this season.
And his mum will do a tweet or go on X and post a photo of her watching the TV with the dog, being like, oh, that was stressful.
Yeah. And then she'll post a link to a rhino charity.
Yeah, probably.
Well, they're endangered, aren't they?
I didn't know that.
Rhino? Yeah, of course they are. People are always hunting rhino.
I know, poor rhinos.
Anyway, yeah, look, I was just playing one of my favourite games, which is called Devil's Avocado. I, of course, know that Oscar Piastri is absolute nails, and you'd almost bet your house on it happening. But I'm just saying, you don't know for sure. There's so many things to happen in. Is it 9 races? Did I get it wrong? There's 9 races left, is there?
I'm terrible at maths. This is round 16, and there's 24 races. So is that 9 races? Is it?
Yes.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
Yeah,
1,
9.
2, 3, 4, 9 actually. Darren.
Right, so it was 10 in Zandvoort. Okay, yeah, so 9 remaining races, but that's still a lot of races. Can I ask a question to both of you, please? Your thoughts on Ferrari, and can you catch us up on where we are? Because obviously we had the doppio did not finish, which a disastrous doppio did not finish on Sunday, which is really bad. Unlucky for Charles. Not quite so unlucky for Lewis. It's just he went on the old slippy green paint. We know that paint's slippy in the rain, don't we? We know even on my bike, I know not to go on the white lines when it's raining.
Yeah, but you've done the green cross code. Maybe Lewis hasn't.
It's simple roadcraft, guys. It's simple roadcraft. Maybe that's what Lewis needs, a little cycling proficiency test.
That's what I was looking for, cycling proficiency.
I just think when it rains, it pours, and it is absolutely chucking it down for Lewis
Literally.
Hamilton and Ferrari at the
Lovely.
moment. Like it's just not going well, is it? And I just think the one race, well, actually, I don't know. I sort of feel like the one race that they do not need next is Monza, because when you have Monza, you've got all the pressure. They're on their home turf, and I just feel like pressure is something that they don't need at the moment. And Fred Vasseur was trying to sort of think about all the positives from the last Grand Prix. He was trying to find the silver linings, and Charles Leclerc was just like, there aren't really any at the moment. Like, we've just got to say that was a bad Grand Prix for us.
He looks fit when he's
Free
sad.
practice was bad.
That's a positive. Charles looks good. He put that photo
Looks
of
good
him on
all
that
the
mound
time.
on one of the dunes. But he was looking sad on a sand dune. Do you not think he just looked quite, he looked like James Bond?
That picture could be the cover of Vogue. It was such a good picture.
Did
Wasn't
we
it? Yeah.
establish where he got the phone from?
Well, it wasn't a selfie, but it's
No,
just
he
like,
was-
it was a...
He was sat on the dune on a phone. Where's he got that from?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, it would have been
You-
the same person, the social media person that comes and takes the nice photo of him looking sad. And like, can you look sad? Can you hold your helmet and look sad, please? Just put
Well, how
this
they
up
got
on there.
over there? To the dune?
Ferrari.
Yeah, I think he had his phone. He must have had his phone.
He's not got his phone in his car.
No, but where did he get that? That's actually such a good point. I never thought of that.
No, we
Where
did.
did
We
he get
put
the phone from?
we put the question thing on Instagram before this, as we often do. Loads of them going, where did Charles get the phone from? Lots of people going, do the drivers have their phones in the car? No, fair question to ask in this circumstance. I didn't think there'd be a point of the season where I'm getting questions going, do drivers have their phones with them in the car? And I'm going, yeah, fair point. Fair question in this circumstance, yeah.
No, but that is a really good point, because no one else would have. How was the person getting to the dune to give him his phone?
Yeah, but there's a photographer there that's gone because it must be the medical team or something. Or He hasn't got his phone. He hasn't got his phone in the glove box, has he? It's not. It's not like he can't
because they can't
even
paint the car for the weight.
No, he's not got his phone in his pocket.
Do you reckon they have mints in the car?
Yeah, a little ordnance survey map, just in case they get lost on the circuit.
A hazard triangle.
A spare tyre in the boot.
It's good practice though, because they always, much like you should do on a motorway if you break down, always leave your vehicle. It's unsafe to be in a stationary vehicle on the side of the road and also a Formula One circuit. So it's that in one sense is good roadcraft from both those drivers.
If we ever get Charles Leclerc on this podcast, because we haven't had him yet, but if we ever do, we have to ask him. That needs to be our first question. Someone write it down.
I'm on the ground this weekend. I'll try and find out. I'll do some digging on this. I'll do some investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Little casual I'm off to Italy drop, was it there?
Off to Italy, eh?
Hey, lovely. That's nice. That'd be really fun. All right, so we'll get Charles Leclerc on at some point. We have to. Come on, Charles. They're gonna, they might need a little bit of positive PR. We can give him some. We can do a fluff piece. We can just. Anyway, we're not above that. We'll just do a puff piece. What it's called. I think I call it a fluff piece.
All our episodes are fluff pieces.
Hey, no, they're not. This is very serious journalism. I'll have you know. Thank you. Right, let's do some serious journalism. What the F happens now with Lewis Hamilton? Look, he's my favourite ever driver. He's one of the. I think he's one of the. Well, he's definitely one of. He might be the greatest ever British sports person. What happens now? This is intense pressure. What can he do, and why does it matter, Christian? So we've got legacies at stake here, haven't we?
Well, I think legacy-wise, what he achieved across different eras with McLaren and Mercedes is safe. That's never going anywhere. But at some point with all athletes, time catches up with you. So we're now in a really interesting position of, has time caught up with Lewis Hamilton? He's making mistakes you wouldn't normally see him make. He's not as quick as Charles most of the time this year, although his qualifying in Zandvoort was very, very good. So there's two things to look at here. It's worth playing a little clip of, actually. If you missed last week's episode, Alex Brundle explaining from a motor racing driver's perspective why he's struggling with this generation of car is really interesting. If you missed it, this is what Alex said.
His stint at Ferrari is starting to remind me a little bit of Sebastian Vettel's stint at Ferrari, where, you get a driver who in a certain era of car had this massively dominant phase. Hamilton then gets in a, changes team in a subtly different era of car, and it just requires a sequence of different inputs from him. And he's scrambling around trying to make his style of driving fit the car. And he's been around long enough that we know what Lewis Hamilton's style of driving is, right? He brakes really deep. He has great control of the rear axle of the car. And then he makes it work in the mid-corner and gets out. It's a really attacking style of driving. I've said it before on other podcasts, this era of car doesn't really reward it. But what you're seeing is Hamilton being a good enough driver to make efforts to meet the style of driving that he needs to. But he's of a stage of his career, and I think where he's been driving with a certain muscle memory for so long that's proving now difficult, is my read on the situation.
That's great insight and analysis from a professional racing driver in Alex. I suppose, though, really, we're not going to know the answer as to whether Lewis has still got it until next year. He clearly doesn't get on quite as well as Alex has just explained with this generation of car. The Ferrari car is difficult to drive. It's not a car that's performing as it should be. So next year, when it's a blank slate, Charles Leclerc hasn't had all these years of experience on Hamilton with this car. Lewis and Charles are coming into a new era, completely evenly matched. They've both got the winter break to work with Ferrari. If Lewis is still performing at the level he's performed at this season and last season, next year, we're probably looking at the end of Lewis Hamilton's career very soon.
What?
Christian!
Well, it's not a controversial thing to say. You can't
No,
look
I
shocked.
know, but we don't need to say it. Don't
he's
say
been
the
off.
thing.
Yeah,
He's
you don't
been-
need to put it in the universe.
Oh,
Sorry, it's now the point where we do have to put it into the universe that he wasn't up to scratch last year. That's not a Lewis Hamilton mistake that he made in Zandvoort. He's not up to speed of Charles. He's supposed to be the greatest ever. He is the greatest ever. That legacy's safe. I adore the man. And I do think there's a chance that in 2026, he is the quickest Ferrari driver with a clean slate. I do think there's a chance. Look at what Alonso's achieved late on in his career. I think there's a chance Lewis goes into 2026 and goes, this new era, I get on with much better. And we see Lewis winning races again. That is a definite possibility. But if Lewis is on the form
Don't do the bat. Don't do the bat. We've heard the bat. We've heard the bat. We've heard the bat. We've heard the bat. No, we've heard the bat. We've heard the bat. We've heard the bat.
If
We've heard the
Lewis
bat.
is on his form
your
of
bat
last year,
away.
this year, next year, we're in trouble, gang.
Right, said it again.
That's my butt.
I think you're right, Christian, though. I think next year we are going to see him and he's going to be much better. I think he needs... Lewis Hamilton is a man that thrives off of consistency, knowing what he's doing, working with the right people, everyone knowing each other really, really inside out. He needs to rely on the people around him. I think it's going to be okay, guys.
Let's keep it
It's going
positive.
to be okay.
Still to talk about Isaac Hadjar. I really want to talk about that, and we'll have a little more of a. Let's keep it positive. I want to move things along. I want to cheer us up with some chat about Isaac Hadjar. But before that, I want to cheer everyone up with some adverts.
We're into the final chunk of the season. There is still lots to play for, though, up and down the grid. Don't get too carried away. And there's also still time for you to come and see some of the action in person as well.
Yeah, if you're keen to soak up some F1 in the flesh before the end of the year, our friends, the adorable, wonderful, lovely people at Gullivers Travel have got you covered. If you missed us talking about them before, they are brilliant. They just sort out everything you need them to sort out for going to a Grand Prix, from buying the tickets, getting to the circuit. They sort out all the boring faff to make sure you can focus on the racing. And as someone who hates admin and is not very good at it and frequently gets lost, I spend most of my time away getting lost. I honestly could not recommend Gullivers more, because without people telling me where to go, I'd end up in the wrong country, let alone at the wrong circuit.
It's been really nice to see people actually taking this as an idea and
Yes.
at least exploring it, and loads of people have actually gone and done these trips as well. So I'm sure there'll be other fast and curious listeners and viewers that you can talk to and go, was it good for you? Was it worth doing? So I'm sure you can do your own research with that. The final race of the season might feel like it's ages away, but it's not. It's not that far away. Abu Dhabi will creep up on us, and loads of people will be trying to get there. So it's a perfect time for you to get organised and sort out your faff-free F1 weekend.
Gullivers have plenty of different, Greg, funny word here coming up, which you usually struggle with. Gullivers have plenty of different packages on offer.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to say there, Greg, about the word package?
No, I just think that's completely normal and fine. Well, that's funny at all.
Interesting. You've got your 4 night stays in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Yas Island.
Now that is funny.
That is funny. Including breakfast, which I think is arguably more important than the racing. I need to know I've got a good breakfast waiting for me when I get up. Plus your race tickets, flights, airport transfers, and there'll be Gulliver's tour guides with you every step of the way, who quite often wear Gulliver's branded bags, I've seen, so you can see where they are, and I think that's helpful in itself.
And if you're already thinking about next season, maybe you're planning on heading to your first Grand Prix, or you want to go back to your favourite circuit, guess who have already got plans for sale for 2026? Of course, it's Gullivers. So head to gulliverstravel.co.uk and they will help you every step of the way. And if you can't be bothered to type that out, then it's all right, guys, because we've got a link in the description of this episode or over on our old Instagram page. Something that we do need to talk about, and I'd love to get your opinions, both of you, on Isaac Hadjar winning his first podium. What an incredible thing to witness. It was my favourite bit of the weekend. I thought he was outstanding, but his just pure emotion when he realised that he'd made it to the podium was just next level. It was so good to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. And actually, think of Isaac Hadjar in Melbourne when he drops it before the race has even started, hits the wall, and he has to be consoled by Anthony Hamilton in the paddock. Actually, to pick yourself up from that and have the season he's had is amazing. He's really dug in. He's really shown his mental strength. And I remember interviewing him in Japan where it was an interview after free practice 2. Not everybody's favourite part of the weekend, but it's a practice session. And I said to him sort of things like, oh, that looked positive, Isaac. And his eyes lit up and he sort of bounced into the media pen and went, oh, that was an amazing session. And I just looked at him and was like, oh, you're loving this. You're really loving your life in Formula One. And at any top level sport, when you're enjoying yourself, that's a sign you've probably got something. So I think it's hugely that not just the podium, his whole season, he's shown speed, he's shown maturity, he's shown mental strength to recover. He looks like the real deal. He looks like someone that's going to be in Formula One for another decade plus. So therefore, I'd say to Red Bull, can we just leave him where he is for a bit? For the love of God, don't do what you've always done and immediately put them up, because we're going to talk about Kimi Antonelli in a bit. And I do think there is something in, look at the likes of George Russell, Fernando Alonso, drivers who've had time to sit and develop a bit. All right, there are exceptions to this, like Lewis Hamilton, who was thrown in at McLaren, but he's Lewis Hamilton, and that was a very different era of Formula One. I just think now, as Greg said, Christian Horner's long in the distance, and they're in this new era. It's a real chance for them to sort of show a bit of maturity in their driver selection that they've not shown for a while and go, it's a new era. We're going into a new rule change. Let's have a bit of consistency. Yuki Tsunoda is an experienced Formula One driver. That's good. We've obviously got Max. Everything's going well in our B team. Let's just leave it and have a year of consistency. I think that would help Lawson and Hadjar. I think it would help the team, the two respective teams. To me, just leave it, guys, because it's all going rather well. And actually, Yuki got a point at the weekend. Again, maybe next year's Red Bull isn't as difficult to drive. Leave it. Just leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it.
Leave it. Hadjar does need to be careful, though, doesn't he? Because if he keeps this up, Red Bull are going to promote him. And
which is why I strongly feel he should drive terribly this weekend. Don't give them any opportunity. I strongly feel he should, I don't know, accidentally press reverse at the starting grid or something. Just don't.
I agree.
Don't do too much. You know,
set it on fire.
Hey, come on, bin it on the formation lap again. Just do one of them for old time's sake.
Oh, sorry, guys. Didn't mean to do that.
Something I liked, by the way, before we move on from this, that Isaac said over the weekend. I'm the first Arab driver on the planet to make it to Formula One. It's huge, but it went under the radar. No one cares, but it's huge. We care, Isaac. That is a lovely thing to mention. I love it that he came and said, by the way, I'm really proud of where I come from and my heritage and where I'm from here, and I've achieved this thing. Lovely. What a man. Love Isaac Hadjar. And before all of this happened, it's not confirmed, but keep an eye on this podcast in the next month or so. Negotiations are continuing.
I've got it. I got it in my diary. I'm all in for that.
Yeah, I mean, I always approach with caution when it comes to Formula One, and we've all got experience in this, guys, recently to say that we're right to do this. So yeah, we hope we're going to have Hadjar on the podcast. We're all booked in, but fingers crossed, everybody.
Come on then, let's do a little bit about Kimi Antonelli and then tell everyone about Monza. And by the way, 2 p.m. is the race start for UK viewers, which will be fun. That's quite a nice one. Nice Sunday afternoon activity. What did you want to mention about Kimi Antonelli?
I think we're in a really interesting point with Kimi, where he started so well and looked so at ease, and everybody thought they've really made the right decision in giving him this chance. There's been 2 moments in particular, the taking out Max in Austria and then the crash and taking out Charles this weekend, that have actually really worried me, because they're sort of mistakes, in my view, that are more mistakes you see in Formula 3 and Formula 2 when you're watching the support series. That they're not necessarily the standard of driving you expect in Formula 1. I'm not really worried about Kimi's speed. He's shown he's got the speed. I still think Kimi is going to be in and around Formula 1 for a long time. I still think he's got the potential to be this special talent that everybody billed him as at the start of the season. But I am starting to wonder, due to the lack of testing in modern Formula One to keep costs down, the different era to when Hamilton came in, are we in a situation in Formula One now where it probably isn't wise to stick super young kids in at the top level in a Mercedes? I'm starting to think that it might have been a sensible option to do what Mercedes did with Russell and put him in a Williams or something like that. Would Mercedes have more Constructors' Championship points if they had Carlos Sainz in the car? Almost undoubtedly. Are the long-term benefits of having Antonelli in from now going to outweigh that? Quite possibly. But I'm a bit worried about Kimi, and I'm starting to think that just maybe it might have been a bit of a mistake to not put him in F1 this soon, but maybe he'd have benefited from less of a spotlight and less of a big team if I'm being honest.
But Kimi's had a lot of positives from this season as well. I know he's made his mistakes, but for the sake of the experience that he's going to be getting,
he's had a lot of positives, but since Imola, he's finished 18th a podium, 16th, 10th, and 16th, and then he's had 4 DNFs. Now that's not Mercedes driver form.
No, you're right. When you say it like that, Christian.
So I listen. What I would love is Kimi to prove me wrong. I think he's a great guy, and I believe all the hype. I'm just starting to think that maybe Mercedes, in not wanting to lose this bright young talent, might have jumped the gun a little bit and possibly could have benefited from him putting him in a smaller seat sooner.
I think he'll prove you wrong.
I hope he does. Greg,
nine races left, remember?
Really hope he does. Because Miami, amazing that weekend. He has got a podium. He started the season really well. But F1, it's a long old mental game. So listen, Kimi, I'd love you to prove me wrong. I'd really want to be wrong.
But I feel like Mercedes, I mean, I could be totally wrong here. I feel like Mercedes, they knew they weren't going to win the bloody thing this season. Betty. So they're getting him ready for next season when it actually matters, 2026, new regulations. And this experience that he's gained is going to be valuable.
I hope so. I hope we don't see a Red Bull situation where it does more harm than good, is all I'm saying. As I said, the advantages of putting him in early might well outweigh these short-term disadvantages. Maybe that's the case. All I'm saying for this bit is I'm starting to worry a little bit.
Okay, so fingers crossed Kimi Antonelli doesn't this one up. What else should we be looking out for in Monza?
Delicately dealt with, Betty. I think the thing is with Monza is all eyes will be on Ferrari. When the New York Yankees collapse, the New York Times goes in on them. When the England or Germany football team have a bad, game or two, the entirety of the English press go in on them. Ferrari are unique in the sense that they have this relationship with Italy like it's the Italian national team. And that is why Monza in particular is so important for them. A bad Monza and every Italian national newspaper, every big motorsport journalist will be on them. So they really need to recover because the pressure that Italy as a nation puts on Ferrari is unique to Formula One. The interesting thing will be as well, we talked about, Greg, you said at the start, anything can happen. The time for anything to happen is Italy. That turn 1-2 complex is so tight and narrow. If a title contender, i.e. Oscar and Lando, are going to be nervous at any point, Italy is that point. It's so tight and narrow. Contact is so frequent. If you're Lando and Oscar, getting away well into turn 1 is key. Not being 5th or 6th on the grid is key because it's so tight in turn 1 or 2. You don't want to be caught up in that. So keep an eye out for qualifying. Keep an eye out for turn 1.
Ooh,
it's exciting.
It's
exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
I like Italy. It's a good track. It's exciting.
So there will be a debrief, obviously, on Sunday. Do we want to do any sort of prediction here in this moment?
I don't think I've got a single prediction right all season. I am dreadful at this. It's like everything I predict, the opposite happens. So So I am going to go, because why not at this stage? I'm going to go for Mercedes shocking us by having the pace and a George Russell win. I'm going for Lando Norris second, and then I think third will be Alex Albon because Williams will be good. Why not? Nothing I say comes true.
What about Oscar?
No, Oscar, I don't know. There's no logic to this. It's just this vibes. So I'm going, what did I say? I'm going
I think
Russell, Norris, Albon. There you are.
Okay, I think we have to, in the spirit of that madness, I think we have to back the underdogs from today's episode, and I'm going to say the podium will consist of, I don't know what order, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, and Kimi Antonelli.
If Lewis gets on the podium in Monza in Ferrari, I will. I'd be tempted to get a tattoo of him on my chest.
Right.
Amazing! Like,
Good.
Holding you to that.
Yeah,
I'd love it. I'd love
Betty.
it.
I'm going to be the sensible one here and drag everyone back to reality. And I'm going to say it's Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and then Charles Leclerc because he won it last time. I think he'll get on the podium this time, but he's not going to be McLaren. There we go.
Fantastic. Well, we will be back for a debrief after the race. You're going to be there, Chris?
I will be there on Sunday. And I'll be joined by a special guest who I shall reveal on Sunday.
Wonderful. It's been lovely to all be back together again. Thanks for watching and listening to The Fast and the Curious. As I just said, we'll be back for a debrief on Sunday. And enjoy the race.
Ciao.
Ciao, everybody.